All right, let's talk about academic writing. For a lot of us, it feels like a chore, right? Well, today, we're going to flip that idea on its head. We're going to stop thinking like writers and start thinking like architects, building our papers with a clear, solid plan right from the foundation up.
You know that feeling, right? You're staring at a blank page, that little cursor is just blinking at you, and you feel totally overwhelmed. It's like someone gave you an empty plot of land and said, build a skyscraper, but forgot the instructions. This is what I call the empty lot problem, and it's where so many good ideas just stop. But what if there was a better way to get started?
Here's the secret. Great writing isn't magic. It's not something you're just born with. It's architecture. It's all about having a method, the architect's method, a structured plan that can take you from confusion to total confidence and control.
So, let's start with that big one, fear of the blank page. That anxiety usually comes from the pressure to create something brilliant right out of thin air. But listen, powerful, clear writing just doesn't happen by accident. It never emerges fully formed. It is always the result of a solid plan.
Which brings us to the most important part, the blueprint. I mean, think about it. You would never ever build a house without a detailed plan, right? The exact same logic applies to your paper. A strong argument needs a strong outline before you even think about laying the first brick.
The very first lines you draw on your blueprint have to answer two huge questions. First, what's the purpose? Why are you building this thing? Are you trying to argue a point, or are you trying to explain a complex topic? And second, who is your audience? Are you writing for other experts who already know all the lingo, or for the general public who might need a bit of a guided tour? Answering the why and the who honestly defines everything else you're about to do.
Okay, next step. You've got to fence in your property. If you take on a huge, sprawling topic, it's impossible to cover it with any real depth. You'll just end up giving a really shallow tour of the whole county. The goal here is to define a manageable scope, like a single building plot, that lets you really dig deep and build something substantial.
And here's exactly what that looks like. A topic like education? Yeah, that's the entire county. It's just way too big. But a topic like the effects of digital learning platforms on first-year university students' motivation, that is your building block. See how it's specific? It's focused. It's something you can actually analyze in depth.
Now that you've got your plot fenced in, it's time to gather your building materials. And you can't build a strong academic structure with flimsy evidence. You need high-quality, credible sources, like peer-reviewed journals and academic books. Seriously, these are the steel beams and reinforced concrete of your argument.
Okay, our blueprint is drafted and the materials are on site. It's time to build the main frame. And this happens on two levels. First, there's the macro structure. That's the overall layout of your building. And then there's the microstructure, the design of each and every individual room.
The macro structure is actually pretty simple and elegant. Your introduction is the front door and the welcome mat. It tells your reader what this whole building is about and presents your thesis. That's your architect's statement. The body is the series of rooms where the real work gets done, with each room holding a specific argument. And finally, the conclusion is that final walkthrough, where you remind your visitor of the building's purpose and its overall impact.
Now, let's zoom in on the microstructure. Every single paragraph is a room with one clear purpose. The topic sentence? That's the sign on the door. Here's a quick test. If you read just that first sentence, does it tell you what the whole paragraph is about? If it does, you're on the right track. The support is all the furniture inside, the evidence, the examples. And the closing sentence is the doorway, leading your reader smoothly into the next room.
So a great frame is useless if you can't actually move between the rooms. Now we need to install the hallways and the doorways. This is all about creating a logical flow, and we do it with two key tools, coherence and cohesion. Think of it this way. Coherence is the logical plan for your hallways, while cohesion is the nuts and bolts that physically hold it all together.
Coherence, that logical flow, starts with picking the right architectural style for your project. Are you telling a story that unfolds over time? Then you want a chronological pattern. Are you trying to show how one thing leads to another? Well, that's cause and effect. Choosing the right logical pattern makes your entire paper intuitive for the reader to navigate.
And cohesion comes from those nuts and bolts, the words and phrases that physically connect your ideas. Words like however and therefore, those are the hinges on the doors. Phrases like these findings, those are the signposts in the hallways. They might seem small, but they are absolutely crucial for holding the entire structure together.
All right, for our last section, let's play Building Inspector. Because honestly, understanding the most common structural flaws is the best way to make sure your own project passes inspection with flying colors.
But before we look at the flaws, let's check out what a strong foundation looks like. A great thesis is the architect's statement, plain and simple. Notice how this one doesn't just say AI affects jobs. No way. It tells you exactly how, by automating tasks, increasing skill demand, and reshaping expectations. This is the kind of crystal clarity we should all be aiming for.
So please try to avoid these common blueprint flaws. A missing thesis is basically a building with no purpose. An unfocused topic is a property without a fence. Disorganized paragraphs create a confusing maze of rooms. And introducing new arguments in the conclusion, that's like trying to add a new room during the final walkthrough. It just doesn't work.
Look, academic writing isn't some big mystery. It's a craft. By thinking like an architect, you control the process. So the next time you face an assignment, don't see a terrifying blank page. See an empty lot, full of potential. You have the blueprint, you have the tools. The only question is, what will you build?